Hi, and welcome to June 2022 Patreon rewards video. All right, so let's get started. I finished my Black Terror Kid comic strips, uh, mostly because I couldn't come up with any more. Uh, if I come up with more, I am going to make them, but I need to because it's not like I need to actually come up with one every week or uh, every day or anything. I'm not really pushing to do it, but I think if I get an idea, that I'll definitely do it. So this was actually the last one I did, and then I did this one. This one I did for Mermaid, which was last month. I thought I'd do a mermaid one for that reason, and I kind of forced myself to do this one. I spent a lot of time trying to come up with a gag, and I came up with two, and then I realized that the first one was kind of weak, but if I married it to the second idea, um, it worked better. So this is actually two ideas combined, and that's what this one is. And if you want to know, I mean, I'm supposed to be talking a little bit more about this stuff. Uh, the idea was the pun of the dialogue here, where he says something's fishy, and originally I had a mermaid on. I was thinking of having some kind of mermaid on a rock, um, trying to entice maybe the joyous bunnies to come to her. But she obviously was intending to eat them. Um, and Black Terror Kid was walking by saying the line, and then I was like, it's kind of lame. I don't like it. So I decided that, and then I was thinking about this one, which is the signs. The gags are basically the signs, and then I originally thought that Black Terror Kid would say that last one looks kind of sus. Um, and then I realized that it would be better if he said the line from the first strip in this one instead of the other one, and I just got rid of the other one. That was the process. If you wanted to know, because I know this is the whole point of this kind of video, is to talk about the process and what I was thinking. So that's the process. Let me go back to this one. And this one, what happened here was that I drew it. I drew the version. I was just looking for a way. It's a play on words, obviously. So I spent a lot of time looking for the right words. Like, all this stuff is all about looking for the right words that has double meanings and all this other stuff. It's really tough. Like I really work really hard to try to figure out how to make this work. But one of the big problems with this one that I had was that I originally drew the lion, and then I was done. I finished the whole entire thing. I finished the whole thing, and then I slept on it. Right, I went to bed. I woke up the next day. I looked at it, and the lion to me looked awful. It was drawn so bad, like it was terrible. So I had to go back in and redraw the lion, and the reason why it looked bad the first time was because I didn't construct it. And I just drew without constructing anything, without really working out the anatomy. It was just a bunch of shapes that I put together, and it looked like it didn't work. It didn't look anatomically sound. So I had to go back in, and then I had to reconstruct, and I had to construct it this time. I went in and I just broke down the anatomy of the lion all the way down, and then I drew the drawing, built that the lion based on actual anatomy. Like, I drew the neck and all that stuff. It got covered up by the mane, but I drew the neck, the connections, the shoulders, like all the rib cage, all that stuff. I ended up having to draw it. And then I reworked the drawing, the lion. So that was the problem with this one. That was what I ended up having issues with, was not following the rules, right? Like sometimes when you get too confident with your work and you've been working doing drawings for a long time, you get cocky, and this happens to me at work a lot too. But you tend to get cocky and you want to take shortcuts. And when you do that, sometimes stuff falls apart on you, right? Like it just completely just, you just want to get it done, and then it falls apart. With this one, actually, one of the things that I did do, and I did take a shortcut on this, I did not do any perspective lines in here. I decided I didn't want to do that because I was being lazy. I did put a horizon line so I knew what was above and below. That was my only guide, and then the rest I faked the perspective, and it turned out looking fine. I know that there's an artist that I really admire, Bernie Wrightson, and a friend of mine asked him how he worked with perspective, how he did all his perspective, and how did he learn perspective to be able to do the things that he does. And Bernie told him that he never does it. He invents it. The whole time he just invents the perspective. Like he just makes it up as he goes. And his stuff looks great. So there, and actually there was a concept artist that I was taught by, and we kind of asked him something similar. And he works at Disney. His name is Paul Felix. And we asked him about perspective, and we asked him, and he was talking to us. I think we didn't ask him. I think he just kind of told us. He said that, and then he had this beautiful, like, concept piece that he had done, and it was really, really long and big. It was just like a giant piece of paper. And but he had a slide of it. He didn't have the physical. So he was telling us about it, and one of the things that he said was that the entire background, that entire piece, which was for Mulan, which was a Japanese city from above, like looking at the whole city. He faked all the perspective. He said that if you were to look at the perspective and do all the things, and really break it down, you'd see that it was fake, that it didn't line up. But looking at it, you couldn't tell. That's mastery of perspective, right? That's really, like, you've used perspective so much that you can fake it and you can cheat it and it still looks fine. So this was me trying to do that. Like, I didn't have a perspective grid. Like I said, I only had a horizon line. And then I did the perspective of all the boxes and all the stuff in the table out of my head, based on all the knowledge of having done all the mechanics thousands of times, right? So hopefully it doesn't look off, and I don't think it looks off. So just thought I'd say that, put that in. This is just a drawing from a video that I did on poses, and here are the tips and stuff like that. So in case you wanted to have the drawing from that video, that's it. All right, so this is this month's postcard that I'm going to be sending off to one of my patrons. This time around, the person who won this postcard is Anita. Anita is someone who I'm coaching, but again, I think this is the second time that she's won a postcard, or maybe the third time. I think she's won 3 times in a row. Like not in a row, but she's already won three postcards. So her name is in the hat, so to speak, multiple times because I'm coaching her. So so congratulations, Anita. Here's another one of the postcards. I did do a video of this. As of the time of this recording, I don't know if I've posted it or not on my channel, but you will. There is a process video of this postcard that exists. So you can see it. It's actually sped up. It's a sped up process. I usually do it all in real time. It took me about 30 minutes to do this one, but in the video, it's about 5 minutes sped up. So congratulations, Anita. Here's this month's postcard. All right, so this page has a few things. Let me bring something up here. All right, I'm going to be talking about this in a second. So that here, I'm still trying to. I'm still trying to figure out. I still want to do some iconographic, like religious art. But I'm still debating about what my stuff should look like when I do it, and I want to keep the essence of the symbolism in medieval iconography, but I want it to come from a place where I feel comfortable using the language. So this is me trying to come up with preserving the aesthetic, the look, the iconographical style, while giving it I don't want to say contemporary, but a design look that is both traditional and based on something like Riley, and the kinds of things that I've learned also. It's a marriage between the traditional medieval and the contemporary Renaissance, and there has to be like a little bit of a marriage between the two that I think, and in the contemporary look, like I don't want to go full contemporary. So it's a really weird little marriage that I'm doing, and then I'm gonna show you what happens next. Here, this ball here is me using. I don't have it here, but my pens that have multiple colors. You know, one of those little multiple color pens. This is me trying to paint with those multiple colored pens and seeing how I could use the different colors in the pen to like I said, paint colors and make, like, because I've seen people do it and I don't know how it's done, so I'm trying to wrap my head around. So this was me experimenting. All right, this bottom part, this bottom drawing. Okay, so my friend John Narcome, he has these books of his artwork. This one is his latest one. I will link to any links that I can find of his, including his Instagram, etc. I don't know if he sells these online, but you could definitely follow him because he tends to do a lot of shows, a lot of live shows, and you can buy this book from him there. But so I picked up, so I have this book from him, and I was looking through it, and his style is extremely expressive. He's got this influence between, look at that. He's got this influence between like this Fleischer, this looks like Dick Tracy. I think this is actually from Dick Tracy. I think maybe all of them are from Dick Tracy, but he's got this influence of like this kind of Fleischer, Dick Tracy kind of thing, and also he's got this Image Comics aesthetic as well, that he's heavily influenced by Image Comics from the 90s, where it was extremely detailed oriented. So and also he's really a very graphic artist. I'm just impressed with how extreme and crazy and amazing a lot of this stuff looks. So I was flipping through this, and then I came up with this, right? Like this really cool. I'm like, wow, look, there's something about that was just like, look at that graphic. There's something cool about it, right? I really like that. And on this other page, he's got this, right? And I'm like, and I actually contacted him and asked him if he'd give me permission to play around with that design and that idea, because I wanted to draw it. Like I was just flipping through his work, and I was just like, I want to draw that. I don't know why. I just overwhelmingly decided, it felt like I needed to draw that. So this was me like giving it more of a Bruce Timm-esque aesthetic, a little bit, doing the B arms, the letter B, and the big torso of the Bruce Timm giant torso with the small, and at the same time I'm also giving it a slightly Robert Valley mix to it. So I'm kind of combining Bruce Timm and Robert Valley, and I'm kind of like playing with those shapes from these two guys that I really admire. And then I'm adding the Narcome design thing. Like I'm just marrying all three of these guys, Robert Valley, Bruce Timm, and John Narcome, and I'm marrying all their voices together. And then this is what pooped out, right? Like this is what I pooped out. And then this is his other character who he said that he hadn't really developed all that much. Like he was still playing around with that design a little bit. And that was just me kind of playing around with that design a little bit. But I was much more interested in this guy. So I am going to show you what I did at the end with this guy. But this is me experimenting some more. This is what I wanted. I was playing around. How am I going to do this? What do I want to tell? Because I asked him what the story behind him was, and then he gave me a little bit of a synopsis, but he's like I said, he's still thinking about it. He's still developing it, but he knows he's a villain, and he does bad things. So it's just, he's a villain. So I ended up going, I'm going to decide, I'm going to do something, and that sounds like a villain. Like this character though, this is No Face, and this is La Noche. Like La Noche, she like I said, she hasn't really been as developed. So I was in the original version, in his version, she hasn't. Oops, there it is. She has no hair. And I put hair just to see what it would look like. There is a version without hair that let me see, do I have that? Yeah, I'll show you what I was going to do. There's a version with hair, without hair. I gave her a little bit more of a garter, that sort of thing, like it's so I was still playing around with her, but I was much more interested in No Face. Here I have a Jesus design. I was trying to be graphic with him. Again, I'm still playing. So like I'm going back and forth with all these things. One of the things that kind of was it kind of bugged me a little bit is that I was so overwhelmingly obsessed with drawing No Face, and how easy it just came out of me. And how difficult it was for me to draw something religious. How it felt like I'm pulling teeth, and it felt like pulling teeth, and it really bugs me that it's so hard for me to do that, but it was so easy for me to do the No Face. So again, more experimentations here, more Saint Christopher drawings. This time I was thinking, if I was to do an icon, what would it look like? Should he be looking forward? And if you look forward, what would that look like? Or should he have a profile because the profile is usually the way he looks. Here's another graphic representation of Jesus, which I don't like. And then I drew this, which was kind of playing with this anatomy thing. I'm just trying to draw the graphics, what's the graphic here? What am I saying? What would it be? So I'm still playing with that stuff. And then I was like, okay, this isn't doing it for me. Why is it, and this was the question, why is it that with no face it was so easy, but if I'm trying to draw Jesus, it's not? Why am I so much more drawn to somebody like Saint Christopher, who's just like this beast man, buff, super dude, and not so much this? And I was thinking that it's because I'm so obsessed with like superhero stuff. So what if I drew this traditional iconography, but I would put a superheroic spin on it? Like, here's Jesus, the resurrected Christ, but as Superman. And so this was me doing that. Like, it was an upshot. He's looking down, kind of like Superman. I don't know if that's working. Maybe. I think it might be the thing. Maybe. And he's a little bit more heroic. He's got a little bit more of a Bruce Timm kind of body type. I don't know. And then here he is on the throne. There's one with he's got a globe, and he's doing his little gang sign, which is, what is it? Is this? And he's sitting on, but usually it's just straight on. What if it was like we were at foot level looking up at him, right? That was the idea. And so it's more heroic. It's more like of a superhero. I don't know if that's the right way to go. And then I was thinking, okay, maybe it's just because I draw so many pretty ladies, and I'm just so drawn to beauty. And I do have a video on beauty. But beauty would be like the physical manifestation of the good. So what if I would, since I'm so drawn to pretty ladies, why not draw the woman, right? The woman being the woman that Jesus called woman, which is his mom. So the woman I drew, and so I was drawing Our Lady, and I was trying to draw, what would it be if I was to give her, I already drew a version of her in an iconographic-ish look, but I never really was happy with it. So I was thinking, what if I just simplified it and made it more graphic? And so I started playing around with the idea that she wouldn't even have eyeballs. Like she wouldn't, it would just be an eye shape. And then the rest of it would be very minimal. It would just be a round face, very, very minimal. That was the idea here. And eventually I drew this, which is a straight on look with just the shapes. And I was like, that's it. That's kind of where I want to go. But this is just too babyish, looks too much like a little girl. So I'm like, she needs to be older looking. She needs to look a little older. Meanwhile, I went to the zoo, and then like between all this thinking, I went to the zoo, and again, it's the monthly zoo meeting with my colleagues at work. So we drew elephants. So this is actually the second page. This is how I started, which was just a disaster. Like, one of the things that I learned about going to the zoo and drawing animals is that I absolutely 100% need to do way more homework before I go to the zoo and draw the animals. So we were going to draw the elephants. We knew we were going to be drawing the elephants that day. And what I didn't do was study. So I should have studied. I should have gone and just drawn elephants. I should have studied and figured out how to break down elephants, so that I could draw them from my imagination, so that when I went to the zoo and had them in front of me, whenever they moved away, I could still finish the drawing. That was the idea. Like they'll just keep moving, but fortunately for me, I knew how to draw them from my head, so I could finish the drawing in spite of the fact. So you would use the animal as the starting off point, the jumping off point. They would move away. You would finish it. You would just do kind of a quick gesture, construction, solid shape thing. And then you would finish the drawing out of your head because you knew what you were doing from the start. So that is something that didn't happen because I didn't do my homework and I was struggling, and it was so difficult to that day doing zoo sketches for sure. So this, I think, was the last page, and this was the second to last page, and this was the original page. It was a lot. It was a mess. So so I went to the zoo and I drew some elephants, and then I went back and I did. This was a drawing of the Theotokos again. Theotokos, by the way, just means God bearer. That's what it means. So see, her face is a little bit longer. She looks a little bit more. She looks a little bit older. This is based off of a very traditional icon, which I don't know the name of, but it's an icon of Mary, and she's usually like this. She's usually has her arms up, like that, and then inside, and then her. Inside her chest, or on her chest, is a little baby Jesus in a circle, right? So so I started off with the head, and then I just kind of started making it up as I went. Like I started off with the head like this. I designed the head, and I'm like, yeah, this is much longer. She looks older, and then I went and I looked at my Pinterest board and I looked for icons, and then I found this one, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that one because I wanted Jesus to be in it. And I kind of don't want to do any drawings with the Theotokos without Jesus in it. So if I ever do one of her standing, doing in any other kind, I will always probably put like the head of Jesus on over her head or something like that. So so here's this, and then I kind of was just making it up as I went. Came up with a pose. I was like, I think this is something that I want to do. I think this is something I want to do, but the face still, there was something about the face and the eyes being completely black that, although I liked the direction, I felt as if I still needed some I needed to have a little bit of iris in there, just a little bit. Just the hint of an iris, because I didn't want it to be inhuman. So I went in the sketchbook, and then I did a version with an iris. So you can see that this one has a little bit of an iris shape, and then a little bit of a light gap. It's still kind of mostly black, but there's a little bit of light gap. And I made her face a little bit less long, right? I made it a little bit more. It's a halfway between the other one that looked too girly and the other, and this one that was very long, and this one is a little bit halfway through here. And then I drew the baby Jesus here, and I kind of gave him the same kind of a baby face, that kind of, and the eyes, the same thing with this. I was experimenting, and then I'm like, what would this look like in 3/4? I drew this one first, and I was like, no, not quite. So I did it again, and this time, this is what I want. This is the face, right? Like, I really was happy with this one. She's very cute. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna take this guy and I'm gonna make a 3/4. And I first drew this one, and he basically looks like this is definitely a Freddie Moore Disney-esque uh, Pinocchio looking Jesus over here. And then I drew this one, which is a little bit less so. Um, so and he looks younger. He looks more of an adolescent here. This looks much younger. That he looks a little bit more like he's 5 or something, or even younger than that, because his body's so big. Maybe I could make me shrink his body a little bit. But so I'm gonna try to do a painting with this where she's holding the Christ child. Um, so that's that, and I'm going to use these kind of designs. So and I think that's going to and it makes me want to do that. This feels right to me. This is more in the direction that my in the direction where the drive, that I have that drive. Okay, and then we have this drawing of La Noche. Remember, I told you that that there's a version of her without hair. So there's this version. Here's the version without hair. This was this is what I was gonna do with her, and then I ran out of steam. I had no desire to finish. Like, I was like, I don't want to finish this drawing. This is as far as I got, and then that was it. Like, I may go back and finish it, but I kind of don't feel like it. And then it died. Like, I didn't want to like work hard. Like, there is a version of this with hair and a version without hair. I don't know which one is the right way to go. But in any case, I may or may not go back and finish this. But this was where I was going. And then I got caught up in all of this stuff. So I decided that I was going to do that. And then I did. I did do the icon. So this is where I'm at this stage of the, well, that's not true. Yesterday I finished it. But this is where I was at the end of the month. So you can see that I did use the drawings from my sketchbook. So what I did was I scanned the drawings, or actually I took photos of it, and then I imported those photos, and I did the face off of that. And I did the same with, see, I just did a tighter digital pencil version of Jesus here. One of the things that I did was add all these beautiful textures on here. And I did that because there's this thing that happened in a lot of contemporary art, where and this is it's interesting because basically the secular art in Japan, the Gothic art, the Lolita art, and a lot of different other types of artists have taken like you could see it in some of the artwork of like warrior nuns, and in Japanese anime style warrior nuns and all this other stuff, and these kind of Gothic manga looking stuff, and they've basically stolen the language of the medieval and Gothic cathedrals and Catholic art, and they've incorporated it into their work in this Gothic and Lolita and that sort of thing. And then I was like, and they made they've taken this aesthetic, and they've made it cool, right? They've made it really interesting and very appealing, and they've given it, and it draws you to it, it pulls you in, right? But it's taken out of the context of its original purpose, which was to point to something greater than the world. So I was looking at this art going, see, this stuff still speaks. It still has that beauty that draws you in, but it's not pointing to anything higher. It's just pointing to itself. So I was thinking, how can I steal it back? Like, bring it back. I want to take it back and then point it right back up to where it used to be pointed to, which was a higher level of being, right? And so that's what I'm like, but what is it? What is it? What is the language being used here? And it's gold, and it's all this embroidery, and the embroidery is not arbitrary. There's a purpose to it. There's the lyrics of that stuff, like the life. And so there was all this stuff that I was thinking about, and I was like, okay, so I gotta bring it up, and I'm gonna put it into this thing that I'm doing. So that's what that was the point. That was the purpose. I wanted to take back all that medieval stuff that's being used in secular artwork, and the beautiful secular artwork that I'm really drawn to, that I really like, right? But I wanted to like focus it and point it to something back to where it was originally placed. So it's like they took it, so it's really amazing. It's really interesting because the contemporary secular stuff has found the thing that works about it, right? And kind of like almost honed it in, and just kind of like they made it kind of like a diamond, like they compressed it into this voice. And so you can take that compression and then bring it back and pull it out and point it back like a laser, and so that was my attempt. That's where I'm going with this. That's the idea here that I'm trying to get to. So you'll see what I did at the end, and then you can tell me whether or not I'm successful, because I'm basically looking at traditional medieval iconography, and I'm taking this anime aesthetic contemporary stuff, and then I'm marrying it back together into this kind of weird hodgepodge of different ideas. And that's where I'm going with this. Okay, so just let me know if this seems to be working. But ultimately, and I'm going to be talking about this much later, but ultimately it shouldn't be art for art's sake. There has to be a point, there has to be a purpose. And this is one of the things that I've always been struggling with. This is one of the reasons why I'm so into comics, is that when you learn to draw, you don't want to draw just for the sake of drawing. You want to draw for an end, and at least me. And what I wanted to do was I would go to comics because I would draw in order to be able to tell a story, right? So the drawing was a means to an end, the end being a story. Okay. And then finally, here we have No Face. This is the drawing that I did with the No Face character. This I did in a very few hours. I just got the urge to do it. Like I said, it's a marrying between John Narcome's art, Bruce Timm art, and Robert Valley art. It's just like, it's all these aesthetics put together. And I made sure that this, like I drew this stool, and I didn't want the stool to be beautifully drawn in perspective. I wanted it to be really graphic and weird. So I deliberately used real perspective, but then I also made sure that it wasn't perfect and it was a little off. So like this is higher than this side, and then even here in this bit, it's a little warped. So the idea was to make things a little warped, because that was what I wanted it to be, a little odd, like a little bit twisty, weird, and everything is just a little weird. That's what I wanted, and that was the idea here. Especially because something bad happened apparently. Like, and I wanted to be a really minimalist and really stylized. That was the idea here. And like I said, it was disturbing to me because this came so fast, so naturally, so quickly to me. Like, I had an overwhelming desire to draw this. I drew it really fast. It just came out of me like, and then I just, and then I'm like, what just happened? Why am I struggling with this? But this just happened. I don't know. It bugs me. It bugs me a lot. But anyway, there it is. No face. That's this month's art. I hope this has been helpful. I hope you got a lot out of this. Thank you so much for your patronage. Thank you for your support. I couldn't do this without you. I really appreciate your support. It's really, really helpful. Well, thank you so much. And I will talk to you next time. All right.